So a few months ago, I bought and reviewed these farmer's carry handles. I said I'd post an update if my thoughts on them changed. So yeah, I've had these for a few months now. I don't remember exactly, but I will check the upload date of my original video to tell me how long I've had these. But in the original video, it was mostly my first impressions of them because I'd only used them for like 1 or 2 training sessions. So it was really basically just some first impressions of the product. I gave it a pretty favorable review. And so now let me share what has happened with these and my updated opinion on the product as a whole. So one thing I'll note is that at the time of the original recording of the video, I hadn't been doing farmer's carries for a particularly long time, so I couldn't really move as much weight with them as I can now. So that is partially what has influenced me to make this update video, because with the amount of weight that I'm moving with this exercise, my thoughts on how useful this particular piece of equipment is has changed quite a bit, and I've kind of seen some shortcomings that this design of farmer's carry handle kind of has. So I just want to share all that with you so that you can make a more informed decision based on your training goals. So one thing I want to note right off the bat is that whatever coating they put on the bottom of these scrapes off a lot. And I mean, you're probably going to be using these outside, but when you bring them inside, they flake off and it can get on the floor. So that's just one thing that is not good right away. So yeah, you can see there, whatever coating they put on the actual shaft, the weight loading part of this, scrapes off really easily. It's not very high quality at all. I kind of just wish they didn't even put anything there. So in my original review, and this is still kind of true on the product page, I wasn't entirely sure if the weight rating for these handles was for each handle individually or all together. But now I can pretty confidently say that the weight rating on their product page, which is like from, like when you look at the preview, it says rated up to 350 pounds, but then in some of the images they say 300 to 400, so it's kind of vague. That is definitely for both of these handles together. One of these handles individually cannot hold nearly that much weight. I would expect that a product would accurately list what weights it's rated for and what each individual handle is rated to carry, which now, since making the original videos, there's other farmer's carry handles like this you can find online that seem to be a little more durable. I don't know for sure because I haven't tried them myself, but if you do want to get this style of farmer's carry handles, there are better options, it seems. So yeah, that's another thing to keep in mind. I would expect that the weight that they would list it to be able to carry would be how much weight it can confidently hold without getting damaged, but it wasn't able to carry that much without being permanently damaged. So I'm taking points off for that as well, because it's a little dishonest, to be fair, to even say that this can hold 300 pounds. If it can hold 300 pounds but it gets permanently damaged from doing that, you should just not even say that it can hold that much weight. In my most recent farmer's carry session, I was carrying 320 pounds with these, and I noticed that they're starting to bend. It's not too noticeable now and it doesn't make them unusable, but it does indicate to me that I should not load these heavier and that I'll need to get a more durable training tool if I want to keep progressing with the weight on these. Yeah, as you can see there, it's not a super noticeable bend. It's a little more noticeable when there's weight plates on it, but it is definitely starting to get bent. And even with like 300 pounds total, or like 150 per side, it was starting to get pretty bent, but it's even more noticeable now. And I think part of that is because of this, how they have it stamped, the logo here, which I think reduces the structural integrity and makes it easier to bend. So that's another thing to keep in mind. So with that in mind, only being able to load these up to 300 pounds total, not 300 pounds per side, completely changes what kind of person is actually going to want to use these. Because if you're training for, if you're trying to improve your overall strength, your max strength, you can hit that number pretty quickly. So I've only been using these for a few months, and I'm already past the point of where these are not very useful for me anymore, which I guess, you know, is kind of why you don't see something like this in like professional strongman competitions, because it just can't hold that much weight. And one thing about the design is, like, at lower weights, this design is fine for keeping the weights from hitting your legs, but once you load these up, the weight kind of like pulls down here. So like the weight is across here, it pulls them inwards. So the more weight you have on these, the more they bump into your legs. And having 320 pounds slamming into your legs over and over is not very comfortable. And I got some bruises on my shins from them scraping against my legs, which I'm no stranger to getting bruises, but still, I feel like a farmer's carry is not an exercise you're expecting to get bruised up from doing. So yeah, overall in my original review, I probably gave it like 4 out of 5 stars. I would lower that to like a generous 3 stars, because as I said, if you are trying to push your maximum strength, then these aren't going to last you years. They're going to last you maybe a year. Or I guess it depends where you're starting from, because I wasn't starting from 0, but so yeah, they might last you a few years if you're a complete beginner, but if you're kind of intermediate to advanced already, these aren't going to last you that long. And especially not if you're already like advanced weight levels, because the farmer's carry, if you're pushing the maximum amount of weight you can carry, it should be one of the heaviest lifts you can do. It should be comparable to your deadlifts and squats, just in terms of how much weight you can use. If you're really strong already, then these are not a good choice for you, basically. The only people I would recommend these for now, I'd say if you're doing farmer's carries as more of like an endurance exercise, so using lighter loads and carrying them for longer distances, this is still fine for doing that. Just keep in mind what you're actually trying to train these for before you make a decision, and realize that these are not the same type of tool. They don't have the same type of application as more serious, durable farmer's carry equipment. If you are thinking about doing farmer's carries, or you're already doing them and you need something to use at home, then I would say buy something a little more serious. I'm going to be trying out some new equipment later, so I might make a video about that too and see how that compares to these. Still better than nothing. Still better than using like straps or belts or whatever like I was doing, or like they sell like basically commercial versions of that where it's just like a piece of fabric or chain with a handle. That's probably like the worst possible way you can do farmer's carries. This is like a step up from that, but not quite as good as some higher end farmer's carry equipment you could buy. But yeah, that's about all I have to say about these today. I guess the moral of this story is that you get what you pay for, and compactness comes at a price, because I guess that's another thing that these have going for them, is they don't take up a lot of space like other farmers carry equipment does, especially the actual like strongman farmers carry frames. Those take up a lot of space, but and they're really freaking expensive, but you know, they work, so, and they're better than this. So if you have space for those and the money to get them, or the means to get them, I'd say just go with one of those. That's not what I'm going to be getting because I don't have that kind of money to spend on these, but whatever, it is what it is. Maybe someday, maybe if you like and subscribe, maybe someday I can afford a real strongman farmer's carry frame. Yeah, that's I think everything that I wanted to say about these freaking farmer's carry handles. I'll probably still be using these just with like maybe 200 or like 250 on them or something. Nothing crazy, and just do more volume until I can get something better that can actually hold as much weight as I can use for a farmer's carry, because I'd like to keep pushing the weight that I can carry. I mean, like, also, like, if frickin' more people just knew how good of an exercise farmer's carries were, maybe it would be easier to get higher quality equipment for them. But, you know, they're not as popular as like bench pressing and deadlifting and stuff, so that's probably why it's kind of a toss-up when you buy more budget-friendly options for training these. Overall, the quality is not actually that great in hindsight, but they were pretty cheap, so I guess that's one thing they have going for them. And I'll keep you updated in the future. I am working on another video too, which should be out pretty soon. Thank you to everyone who supported on my Ko-Fi and my Redbubble store. Links will be in the description for that. And special thank you to my Corundum tier Ko-Fi member, Dawn Crow. That's gonna do it from me for today. Goodbye for now, and I'll see you in the next one.